Hey folks, Jed Bratt here, and in this video, I'm going to give you your abbreviated month of March San Diego County and Riverside County real estate market update. Now in this video, we're going to be a bit more short and abbreviated than we normally are, primarily because there is not a whole tremendous amount of news, and it's not really worth repeating the same old as we have been over the last few months, because a lot of this data, the recovery data about COVID, etc., the unemployment numbers and forbearance numbers, we're pretty much flatlined on those right now. And for all intents and purposes, I think most of that story has played out for the time being until we see another major inflection point. So I'm not going to touch on a lot of that we normally would. And more so in this video, we're just going to stick to the basics. We're going to look at the basic numbers. We're going to look at interest rates. And then I'll touch on a few things that we're going to keep an eye on in the coming weeks and months. But if you're not already a subscriber, be sure to hit the subscribe button and like button, because in the coming weeks, I will be coming out with some other videos on some other topics that does relate to the real estate market that I think you're going to find of interest. And of course, we're always going to have more in-depth market report videos as we go forward. But for now, folks, let's go ahead and dive in. Let's take a look at the numbers. And we're starting off here looking at active listings in San Diego and Riverside County. San Diego in blue, Riverside County in orange. As we can see here, folks, no surprise, down 51% year over year and 54% in Riverside County year over year. What does active listings mean? Well, folks, these are the number of active properties on the market at the end of a given month, that if a buyer were to go and say, I want to buy a home, and they want to only look on the MLS, they're going to come on here and this is what they're going to see for sale. So we can see buyers have a huge shortage of what they would normally be picking from, especially if we look at a bigger scale here, going back 10 years, you can see, geez, in 2018, we were in San Diego County, we're up to 14,000, almost 15,000 active listings. Now we're down to just under 3,000. This is crazy, right? This is also a little bit misleading. I think this is more a reflection of buyer demand. And if we look at new listings, I think this is more a reflection of actual supply. And let me tell you what I mean, because if we look at active listings, again, these are properties that are sitting active status on the MLS at the end of a given month. It doesn't really account to how many properties were listed during that given month, only that any that were listed, most of them tended to go off the market very quickly, as we can see here. On the other hand, and again, this speaks very largely to buyer demand. Buyer demand has been through the roof with the super low interest rates that we've had and the shifts and behavioral changes that we've seen from COVID. That is those are some of the driving factors we see here. Now, on the other hand, new listings, we are down without a doubt, but we're down 14%. And again, we have fewer properties coming in the market. There's a lot of factors that play into that. I think there's going to be factors that are going to keep the amount of properties coming in the market probably relatively low in the coming months and possibly years. Some of these being people are fixed in with low interest rates now. So if you just refinance at a 2.25 rate, maybe you were thinking about selling, maybe you were going to stay in San Diego, you were thinking about selling, but now you decided, hey, the rates are too good to pass up, 2.25%. You locked it in for a 30-year fixed. And now it's going to take you a little bit more of a twisting of your arm or a really good deal to get you thinking about moving. And if prices keep on going up and people keep on holding onto their properties, then that's going to be much harder for you to justify even making that leap. And if you do, there's a good chance you might try holding onto that property and just move on and buy another property. So things like that are going to be big factors, I think, going forward, especially with the potential mindset of potentially higher rates in the future, and not even just potentially. I mean, we have seen interest rates been ticking up. We're going to jump into that right after this. Pending sales, we're up 4.9% year over year, pretty much flatlined on Riverside County for pending sales. Sold listings, again, this is kind of playing into the buyer demand here. 9% increase in closed sales year over year in San Diego and 7.3% in Riverside County. If we look at the sale price, the median sale price in San Diego County is up a whopping 14.6% year over year. I think in the coming month, 1 month or 2 months, we're probably going to see that even go higher because we had that little divot right at the beginning of the lockdowns in 2020. And we're going to be seeing the year over year numbers for that in the coming months. But for now, still 14.6% is pretty tremendous. Same thing, Riverside County, 18.5%. No messing around on these prices. And if you just look at from San Diego County, for example, from January to February, we saw nearly a 4% increase just month to month. Active market time, this plays a big part, again, of the active listings. We saw down 23.7% year over year, San Diego County, 43.5% Riverside County. So one of the big factors playing in is properties are moving fast. I made another video, a great video, I think, especially for you, those of you buyers that are looking to use your VA or FHA loan, and you're finding it particularly frustrating in getting your offer accepted, getting sellers and agents to take you seriously. I recommend you check out the video. I'll try to link to it here in this video. And I'll also be making other videos for buyers too. Again, trying to teach you and help you out on winning in the current market. So again, if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe. And let's go ahead and dive in and look at interest rates, folks. So we hit this hard last market report. We talked about the 10-year Treasury really making some big moves, and it hasn't really stopped. I mean, it kind of took a little bit of a breather, and then it's still more often than not been trending up a little bit day over day. So if we go back, we can see we pretty much hit rock bottom just about at the end of December, beginning of January. We were at 2.6s, 30-year fixed average rate across the United States, across different loan types. Right now, we're sitting at around 3.17% for a 30-year fixed rate. Again, that's crazy low. I remember the first property I bought, I had nearly a 6% rate. I refinanced it 3 times. The third time I refinanced it, because I kept on getting lower and lower, the third time I refinanced it, I had a 3.25. And this is still lower than that. And for VA, FHA, you can still get below 3 right now. So don't think that this in any way, suggests that we have unaffordable rates. However, if we do continue to see this go up in the coming months and the coming year, especially if it's abrupt, if there's any sort of major sudden changes in this, I think we might see a little bit of a reaction in the market. And I say a little bit, I mean, we'll have to see what it would be. However, we can look back to 2018 for an example of this. In 2018, rates started coming up. Since the beginning of the year, they started coming on their way up. And we did start already beginning of the middle of the year, and we started seeing a slow buildup of inventory. But coming around the beginning of the third quarter, it hit like a freight train real fast. The brakes were slammed pretty much across the board in San Diego County, I think Riverside County as well, probably a lot of markets across the United States, if I recall. And there was a period of about 2 to 3 months where we were working with some buyers and we were just getting killer deals. I'm talking 20, 30, 40K, sometimes under list, which 3 months prior would have been market value. And then I'm talking like getting $15,000 in concessions during escrow for the buyers. So there was a period of time where you could get a great deal, but times like that don't really stick around for long. So if you're waiting for a huge market crash, you got to be ready for little reactions in the market like that, because a crash doesn't always look like what you think a crash is going to be. And everybody throws around this term crash, and everything is a bit ambiguous and very subjective. So if we were to see any sort of significant rapid increase in rates, I do think that we might be able to see a little bit of reflection in the market as it pertains to potential inventory, but I wouldn't expect it to stick around. So if you're a buyer, you might be ready and prepared for something like that. Of course, if you're getting a higher interest rate and that's what's causing the market to kind of pull back, well then, you're paying a higher price and interest rate. And I'd probably rather have a higher price and a lower interest rate personally if I'm going to hold a property for the long term. But nonetheless, sometimes during little opportune moments, you can get some good opportunities. All right, folks. So like I said, also, a few of the factors that I'm going to be looking at in the coming weeks and months are going to be inventory and interest rates. If there's any significant continuation of rapidly rising interest rates, then this is going to put a damper on the market. If there is any sort of rapidly increasing supply of inventory, which we are starting, knock on wood, I think we are starting to see a bottoming out of the diving off the cliff of inventory. In other words, I think we're starting to finally plateau on the drop. I don't know if we're going to, I don't think we're going to see, a very dramatic seasonal increase in inventory, but I do expect that we're probably going to see a little bit of an increase in inventory, at least relative to what we've seen over the past 12, 24 months, in the next few months as we go into this traditional spring selling season. Interest rates, if we do continue to see the 10-year Treasury rise, I do think that that is going to pose a potential damper again on the real estate market, because that's going to directly translate into affordability restrictions, tightening affordability. But the interesting thing is there is also an equal and opposite reaction sometimes when interest rates begin to go up. And in fact, it causes buyers many times to be like, oh my goodness, I thought interest rates were going to be here forever, low interest rates, and I'm going to dive in now. I really need to buy. I need to lock in a low interest rate before they go too high. So it can actually have an opposite of the expected reaction from buyers. And also what's important to note is our affordability rate, the percentage of households that could theoretically go out and buy a home based on the median income and the current average interest rate and the median household income. The affordability rate is still relatively high. Historically in California, in past cycles, we would go down all the way to about 17% of households being able to afford a property before the market would actually turn any significant amount. In fact, in 2008, we of course got much lower than that. We actually got down to around 10 or 11% of households. Right now, we are far from that. We are in the high mid-20s. I think we're around 25, 26 last time I checked. Now, of course, with an increase in interest rates, that number directly comes down. But it would have to be a very substantial increase to really drop that number significantly to the point that I'd be concerned in the near future. However, going months into the future, can we keep up this sort of overheated, I don't know any other way of putting it, overheated seller's market where appraisals are thrown out the window, buyers are waiving appraisals, they're going in with no inspection contingencies many times, and they're offering 20, 40, 60K, sometimes 100K over what recent comps sold for. I've seen homes in great neighborhoods in San Diego that have literally appreciated on paper $100,000 to $150,000 within a 3-month span. And this can't go on forever, obviously. So the best thing we can hope for really is a leveling out of the inventory and then a gradual increase. And even a slight increase in interest rates is going to be a bit more moderating than it is going to be detrimental, I think. So anyway, folks, those are a few of the factors I'm going to keep an eye on in the coming weeks and months. And as always, make sure you're subscribed and like this video so you can stay on top of the future videos as they come out. As always, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.